Scott Morrison won't say how much the Liberal Party has to raise for next year's state election.
How long's a piece of string is really the answer to that question.
Scott Morrison's rise in Liberal Party politics began in the administrative wing as State Director of the New South Wales branch.
We've got a new president, a new state director, and we're getting on with business.
He knew the inner workings of the party machine. Morrison was elected to federal parliament in 2007.
In our family, it has never been about what you accumulate that matters, but what you contribute.
As Immigration Minister under Tony Abbott, he was instrumental in designing policies that intercepted asylum seeker boats at sea and turned them around.
Again, I'm not going to go into on-water operations of what other potential partners have been engaged with. And I'm not going into operational matters.
Hi there, I'm Malcolm.
In 2015, after Malcolm Turnbull toppled Tony Abbott, Morrison was promoted to Treasury.
This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
He planned a hike in the Medicare levy to help pay for the NDIS,
I'm not saying no to Gary.
but abandoned it 1 year later.
We don't have to do it now, and we won't be doing it.
He resisted calls for a royal commission into the banks
Well, it is nothing more than a populist whinge from Bill Short.
and tried to pass tax cuts for large companies, one of the Turnbull government's main economic policies.
We believe taxes should be lower for all businesses, Mr. Speaker. We believe it.
The tax cuts were blocked in the Senate and then abandoned, just as Turnbull's leadership came under threat.
Are you doing the numbers for Peter Dutton now? Or do you
No.
need to? Are you doing the numbers for Peter Dutton now? Or do you
No.
need to?
Can you rule out having any leadership ambitions?
Me?
Yeah.
This is my leader.
There you go.
And I'm ambitious for him.
Yeah, good on you. Thanks, ScoMo.
The successful candidate was Scott Morrison.
Feeling good, Prime Minister?
Hi, darling. How are you?
There's been a lot of talk this week about whose side people are on in this building. And what Josh and I are here to tell you, as the new generation of Liberal leadership, is we're on your side.
At the 2019 election, Bill Shorten's Labor was considered the clear favourite, but Morrison led a lethal attack on Labor's tax agenda.
You call it a retiree tax. It's not actually a tax. It's a removal of a tax rebate to people who aren't paying tax, isn't it?
They've paid tax all their lives, Mark.
He proved an energetic campaigner with a particular knack for the so-called pictures war.
That one's quite spicy. No horn.
We are going to stand by our tradies and we are going to save their utes.
He can't explain those policies to you, and that's why I don't think you should vote for him.
I have always believed in miracles.
As Prime Minister, Scott Morrison's political agenda was overtaken by events early on.
The Prime Minister has expressed deep regret if his overseas family trip has offended any Australians.
I know Australians understand this and they'll be pleased I'm coming back, I'm sure, but they know that, I don't hold a hose, mate.
A report by the Auditor-General found former Sports Minister Bridget McKenzie favoured some marginal electorates in deciding where to award the grants.
The now infamous spreadsheet that colour-coded sports projects.
We believe that the risk of a global pandemic is very much upon us. This innovation of the National Cabinet, bringing together our federation, seeing it work in a way that this country, I don't believe, has ever seen.
COVID saw Scott Morrison lead his government into decisions which would have been unimaginable only months earlier, abandoning years of debt and deficit rhetoric to unveil an unprecedented government spending intervention in the economy.
We can't keep Australia under the doona. Now is the time to dig deep. Today is not about ideologies. We check those at the door.
But there would be controversy over the rollout of vaccines and COVID tests.
The pace of the rollout now hitting 2 million doses a week after early delays.
Beyond the pandemic, other political controversies erupted.
She's been instructed to stand aside, and if she doesn't wish to do that, Mr. Speaker, she can go.
As the pandemic stretched into its second year, 2021 began with explosive allegations from a former coalition staffer.
Jenny and I spoke last night, and she said to me, you have to think about this as a father first. What would you want to happen if it were our girls? Jenny has a way of clarifying things, always has.
There were more to come.
Christian Porter says he won't step down as Attorney-General after identifying himself as the Cabinet Minister who is facing a historical rape allegation.
It just didn't happen.
Not far from here, such marches, even now, are being met with bullets.
In a massive shift in defence policy, he committed Australia to the AUKUS partnership, upsetting another key ally.
Do you think he lied to you? I don't think. I know.
But the 2022 campaign was a referendum on a tired and compromised government. Polls showed Anthony Albanese was a more popular Labor leader than his predecessor. After almost a decade in power, the coalition went to the opposition benches. Scott Morrison to the backbench.
It's been a great privilege to lead the Federal Parliamentary Liberal Party, and I hand it over to Peter and Susan and wish them all the very best. Thank you.
Revelations that Morrison had secretly appointed himself as the responsible minister in 5 separate portfolios, as well as being Prime Minister, continued to reverberate into the 47th Parliament.
I believed it was necessary to have authority, to have what were effectively emergency powers, to exercise in extreme situations that would be unforeseen, that would enable me to act in the national interest.
He remained a largely silent figure on the backbench until his statement this afternoon.